Hello and welcome to another of the Regional Print Centre's instructional printmaking videos. We made a few so far which has been received very well, and thank you all for the likes and the comments that we're getting. Very much appreciated. So in this video we're going to be making a liner print. But the print will feature 4 impressions to complete the print. So, and they're going to be registered in the sort of clockwise format. Coming up on screen now, you should see one that I made a few years ago, and it'll give you an idea of the effects that you can achieve using this method of printing. So how it works is, this is the tracing I'm going to work from. I'm hoping you can see it. Let's see if I can just adjust the light a little bit better for you. So you can see that it's a square format. It's only a small print. And this will be the central pivot. So one print will be printed there. The next one will be printed there. 3. And then 4. So to achieve this and to get them to register in the right place, we need a really accurate registration system, and the system that we're going to be using is the Burton pins and tabs, which are these and these, and I'll show you how these work, and I'll demonstrate them a little, well, very much better very shortly as we go through the process. So I'm going to be printing on Japanese vinyl. I don't know if many people have used this in the past. I quite like this. It's quite plastic. It's quite a plastic material, but it does give a reasonable print, and it holds an accurate line, an accurate fine line, which I quite like. So the key to this method succeeding is that the right angle here, which H print will sit against, is really accurate. So it's got to be absolutely 90 degrees. But not only that, the edge here, as you cut it with a knife, needs to be cut at a 90-degree angle. So if it's cut at an angle like that, you won't achieve a really accurate registration, because you will have that few mil out as it goes around the clock face, if you like. So that's something to bear in mind, but we're going to go through this shortly. So I think I've covered everything at the moment. And we're going to move on to making the registration plate and cutting the plate. Okay, here we go then. This is the piece of Japanese vinyl that I'm going to be working with. What I need to do now is cut this to size, and the size I'm working with is 150 millimeter square. And I know I measured this, and this piece is 150 mil by 300. So what I need first of all is a really accurate 90-degree angle on one of the corners. I've measured these 2 edges here, and they do seem to be quite parallel, so I'm happy with those. But what I'm not happy with is this here, so I'm going to trim this down. So if I put a steel ruler straight edge against that back edge here and hold it at 90-degree angle, and then take my set square and just move it up to here, I can see that this edge here is just running out around about 1 millimeter, which may not seem a lot, but by the time you take it round, it will be 4mm, which is quite significant to the registration system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a permanent marker and just make sure everything is in place and tight, and then I'm going to draw a fine line along that edge, and then I'm going to trim that section off. So now I know, or I hope, that that will be a 90-degree corner here, and I will mark that because that is the corner that I'm going to work with. So if I just check that line that I've drawn, yeah, that's fine. So now I need to cut it. So I'll take a cutting mat, I'll take my straight edge, and I need a very sharp knife. Let's give this a go. So holding the ruler on that edge very firmly, sharp knife. Make sure you're holding it in a comfortable position where it's not going to move around too much. Try not to cut too much at once because that makes pressure on everything moving around. So holding it at a 90-degree angle, I'm just going to start cutting through it. So I've taken that off. So let's remove the mat so I can see a little better, and let's just check that angle again. So this time I'm going to put the straight edge against the edge that I've cut and move the set square up against that, and I can feel and see if that looks right, and it does. So I'm gonna go ahead and work with that. I'll put it on the other edge and again adjust it, and it seems fine. Yeah, so we'll work with that. So that's the corner that I'm gonna, which will be the pivotal corner for the 4 prints. So now I'm going to transfer this drawing onto the piece of Japanese vinyl, and start carving into that. Okay, that's it for the moment. Right, I'm ready to transfer my image onto the Japanese vinyl. First of all, I'm going to give the plate just a very light sand, get some tooth for the ink to stick onto the plate. That's all it needs. I'm using a very fine paper, 240 grit or a higher number than that. 400 is the next one, I think. So just like that, back in place. Can you see it there? Yeah. Right. So that's the corner, which is going to be the pivot corner. So the corner of the tracing of the drawing needs to be on that corner there. Right. So what I'm going to do now is transfer it. So I have, it's not carbon paper. It's I find there are 2 transfer papers that work really well with the plastic vinyl. This is one of them, which I believe is a Japanese transfer paper. And I find it very, very good, and you can keep using it once you've used it, because it just takes off a little bit of line. So I'm going to position this here. It's not a complicated drawing, so I'm not going to tape it up or anything like that. So I just start transferring it, just drawing over the lines with a pencil. These lines I'm using drawing are just guidelines for the different shapes that are going to be part or the composition of the print that I'm going to make. So there's a few lines drawn. I'll just take a look. Yeah, you can see, I hope, that there are lines there which are transferring very well. So I'm going to continue with this now, and then that will complete this part of the process. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I cut the plate, and hope you can see that now. Let's see what it is. There's 3 different shapes with 3 different textures. When I'm cutting a plate like this, what I tend to do is I'll warm up by cutting on a offcut of lino. It's just like you would do if you were going to be doing some drawing. You would do 5 minutes where you'd be just some rough sketching and warming up and getting into the knack of it, really. And I use this at the moment, so I'll try different sort of techniques that I'm thinking of using on the plate, or I'll keep this as a reference point for future sort of textures that I'm going to build up into plates, that sort of thing. I think you can see that. Okay, so that's ready to go now. So the next thing I need to do is I need to make a registration plate, which I'm doing with this. Let me just zoom out a bit so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so I've marked the top with a T, and I do that on plates, on a lot of things really, and it can be paper as well quite often. So the plate is 150 millimeters, 15 centimeters, and as I've said before, it's going to pivot around a central point. And when I come to ink it up, you'll see why I'm going to do that. So what I've done, I figured out that the print size is going to be a 30 centimeter square. So my paper, I'm going to allow a 5 centimeter border all the way around. So the paper is going to be 40 centimeters square. This board is approximately 50 centimeters square. So I've drawn 2 center lines on here. I'm not sure whether you can see it. I'm hoping you can. Let me just zoom in again. Okay, that should do it. So I know that the center line's square, and I know that these 2 edges on here are square. So I place these in position on here and then drawn around it. moved it round, placed it in position, drawn around it again 4 times. So from here I've got the top of the print, so I measured 5 centimeters up to the top, which will give me that paper edge. And the Terms Burton pins that I will stick on shortly will go along this top edge here, with the tabs registering on there, and these will be attached to each piece of paper that I'm going to print onto. So we're going to go ahead and do that shortly. But first of all, I need to have some way of positioning these in the same position each time, so we get an accurate representation. So what I'm going to do is going to have some little bits of card along that edge and that edge on each corner of the print, so that when I place this in position, I can just butt it against that corner, and hopefully each time it will be in the right position. But we won't know until we start printing. So this is ready to go, that's ready to go. So the next thing is to attach the Terms Burton pins and the tabs onto each piece of paper. So the paper I'm printing with is Hosho. It's Japanese paper, and I find it excellent for relief work. The paper's already cut to size, so I'm going to turn this around. I've made a little mark here where the one edge of the paper will be along this line here. So what I can do now, I can put one sheet of paper there, so with the Terms Burton pins, I tend to attach them with a piece of double-sided tape and a piece of masking tape over the top. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I need 2 pieces of double-sided tape stuck onto the back side of each pin. So I'll take that, pop it onto there, take that off. Now it doesn't really matter about exactly where you place the pins. You just got to remember that you're going to have a tab which will attach to the paper, and it's got to drop out onto that. So if I take a tab, pop it onto there, that's okay there. I'll do the other pin now. So roughly about the same position on the other side. So I'll pop that down there. There's a slight difference in the height of them. So let's take another tab, place that there, and then I'm going to take some masking tape, and I'm using the low tack variety of tape, and I'm just going to pop that over the top of the pin. for some extra security. So the position of the pins of the pins are set. So I will now attach the tabs to the back of the print. This paper has two sides. It has a very smooth side and a textured side, a rough side. And I like printing on the smooth side. I think really that's the desired size. That's what it's made for, really. So I'm just going to take some more of this Loctite tape and place it over the pin onto the paper, the back of the paper. And that's how my registration system's going to work. So by zooming out, you can see that this piece of paper now is attached, and while it's clipped onto those pins, it'll be in that position all the time. So I can now take that piece of paper away by lifting the tabs off the pins eventually. There we go. So I can take that away, and if I was doing a 2 or 3 colour print, I could come back, attach the paper to the pins, and it would drop into position in exactly the same place, as long as there's been no movement or tampering with it or anything like that. So each of the prints now is going to have two tabs attached to it at the top, and then it's ready for printing. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, and then we'll come back when we're ready to start printing. So everything's ready now for the printing stage. What I've done since you last looked on, I've added these strips here, which now is a marking, a registration for each fitting of the plate. So I can just ink the plate up, slot it into that position, and then print it. So there's 4 of them, obviously, and hopefully it'll come out right. So I'm now mixing up the inks. I'm using the Cranfield Safe Wash relief inks. I find them excellent, really. Good range of colours, nice ink to work with. So I've got a yellow ochre with some processed yellow in it, which is ready, and I have a burnt umber with a bit of raw sienna in it, burnt sienna in it, just to give it a hint of warmth to it. So I'm going to do a graduated print, or roll I should say, just like the sample that I showed you of a previous print. I'm going to use a wide roller, which is this one. So it needs to spread across that area. So I'm going to take this, put that there, take some of the yellow is going to be the middle colour. I'm going to spread that there. And I'll take some more of the brown and put it in that area there. So I'm now going to take the roller and I'm just going to pull the ink down. Quite often it needs a helping hand. To get it working. And I trust you can hear that noise. There's quite a bit of ink there, yes, and it's not quite blended over the roller. So I'm just going to keep working at it. You can move the roller side to side slightly. Just need a bit more of the yellow here and here. That's it, it's picking it up now. So I'm now going to try inking up the plate. So I'm just going to pop that there. I'm moving things around so as I don't need to move the camera. We do have the camera that we use on our heads, but sometimes you can just feel seasick when you're using that. So now I've got the plate here. So that's the centre, and that's the outer corner. So I want the centre to be brown, I want this line here to be the yellow, and that to be brown again. So here we go. I hope you can see that. And you probably saw a bit of my head as well, I'm sorry about that. So now, I'll take this ink sheet away. I've got the registration plate here. Before I put the plate in, I'm going to attach the printed paper, the printing paper. So I'll attach it to these two tabs here, the pins on the tabs, or the pins, and then I can just fold it back like that. So from there I can just see a little section that I've missed on the yellow. That's got it, I think, by Jove. So let's start by doing this corner. I'll push that flush into those pieces of card, which I'm hoping will register right. So I'm going to take the paper and just drop it down. So I'm printing one of the bearing barons, and I find these excellent. I do all my lino printing using one of these. I find them much more controllable than the press. So need a piece of baking parchment, really is what I use, between the bearings and the print paper, because of the pressure with the bearings, sometimes it can start destroying the paper. So it's not a big plate, so just and then you can normally see where if there's any of the printed area missed. So I'm going over it, just a bit of pressure with my finger, just to make sure it's caught everything on the printed plate that I want it to catch. For the size of this print, you could probably just use a spoon, I would think. As you can see, you've got the advantage of, if it's not quite completed the image that you want it to do, you can just lift a little bit off and have a peek. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. So I'm happy with that one. I'm going to take that off. I'll put a weight at the back of it to hold it in position while I ink up the plate again. This time I'll ink it up off camera, because it's easier that way. So what do I want? I want the print. I want the plate. So I'll take the plate here, get it in the right position, and just ink it up. Yet again. So this time I'm going to move it into the next place, which is going to be this. I'll also take a little bit of cloth or paper towel. It's just one or two areas that I want to wipe away. Yeah, that'll do. So now I'm going to take the paper and drop it into the next position, and just do the same. So main pressure with the barren. And then I'm just going to go over it. So let's have a look. That's looking okay. Yes, so I'll take that all the way off. And you can see that the ink's transferred from the paper onto the plate. So I tend to, because it's safe wash, you can take just a little damp cloth with some diluted washing up liquid I use. And I can just wipe that away. It will leave a stain, but that's going to be at the back of the plate. So the paper's going to stay in that position throughout the whole of the print. Right, so another one. sure it's pushed tight to that. See, it's not there, but it is now. Another way you can avoid this on here is by putting a piece of newsprint or newspaper just to cover the ink, which is what I'll do, and dispose of it each time. So you could have some paper pre-cut to cover those squares. And if you're doing an addition, that's probably the best way to do that. So I'm laying it over. This time I'm just going to use the standard Japanese bamboo baron. As you can see, it's not taking a great deal of pressure to transfer the image. There we are. So that's good. I'm going to do one more, obviously, and then that will complete the cycle. So again, just and hopefully this time the registration is going to be spot on. It's looking pretty good so far, I think. Just a bit more pressure, I think I'd be happier with that. Okay, so let's take a look. I'll undo the pins, move everything out of the way. We can have a look at the print then. So that's the print. That's the first print coming off it, and I'm pleased with that. That's pretty good. There is a sort of a millimetre there that is a gap, but I can live with that really for what it is. It's a nice way of completing a sort of tiled print, this method, and it's again using the graded roller. It's the only way you're going to get that effect in a print, because you're turning it around. If it was one whole cut plate, you can never roll it that way. It's the only way you're going to do it. I would say that it works best with a symmetrical print or plate, because then you get an even, if it's the same on this edge as it is on this edge, when they come to match up, it can be difficult to see where the join is of the prints. But I'm happy doing this because I'm looking at something rather than just the symmetrical thing. And I think that completes the the video now, really. I hope you found it useful. It's an interesting way of making a print, and it can be done. It doesn't need to be lino. It could be done as an etching plate, and it can be done as a screen print. Lots of ways you can do it, really. Thanks for watching. See you next time. So this is the finished print. I'm hoping it's coming out alright. It looks okay on the back of the camera, and it will give you an indication of what the print is looking like. I'm very happy with that, I've got to say. I will probably go on and make some more of these, but with a different plate.